Steve, welcome. I'm so glad you could do this interview today.
Well, thanks, Bob.
And right now, I think a lot of people know, as well as myself, that you're the chairman and CEO of Smart Balance. But I want to know what you did prior to that. And I know you're passionate about food, but tell me a little bit about what you did.
Well, I've been in the food business for about 30 years, and fortunate enough, back in the 80s, led the team that launched Healthy Choice, and kind of my first real involvement with really good for you food products, and then went down and spent time with Tropicana, which we had a great business, great product that was, one you wanted to see people consume more of, and then was at Celestial Seasonings, the CEO there, which was a wonderful brand and had some special products, and then ultimately worked on Silk a little bit with Steve Demos. So I had an opportunity to be in the natural foods industry, had a chance to really understand and really appreciate the impact that of a lot of the things we're doing to the food in the industrialized side of the world. And now I think I've kind of found the holy grail, so to speak, in Smart Balance.
Well, it sounds like healthy food is kind of a passion of yours.
It is.
And I want to talk a little bit about the trans fat issue, because anyone knows with the best life, I want you to not consume foods that have trans fats. So what I want you to talk about is a labeling issue that I feel is a problem. And that is, even though you can say there's 0 trans fats, you can actually have an amount that is acceptable, but you can still say 0 trans fats. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, all things work, kind of evolutionary. Years ago, we didn't have an industrialized food system. It was fresh, it was made on the farm. And then over the time, as we moved into mass production, we started using ingredients that made products more shelf stable, maybe easier to produce, last longer. And that resulted in the creation of hydrogenated oils that basically is a form of a very bad fat, trans fat, as you know. And over the years, we've loaded up our food chain with trans fats. Back in 2006, the FDA set a threshold for labeling products 0 trans fats, and anything below 0.5 servings per gram qualifies. That's still a lot of trans fats. And if you look around the world, Canada set the same threshold for 0 trans fats at 0.2 grams. And so what we have is probably one of the most liberal levels of folks that have gone to the countries that have gone to the step of labeling for 0 trans fats. What our competition and most of the industrialized products in the market have done is really used a process to chemically engineer to get just below that 0.5. So they can qualify as 0 trans fats. And they're doing it with really chemically, artificially created trans fats, hydrogenated oils, essentially, that create 0 trans fat, that get to the 0 trans fat threshold. We look at, with our product being a natural blend of oils with trace levels, 2 great benefits. We have 7/100ths of a gram per serving, which is all naturally occurring. We have no hydrogenated oils, and we are obviously significantly below those brands who have gotten just below the 0.5 threshold. As we look at it, I mean, we think there's an opportunity to really more fully disclose so the consumers can make the most educated decision. Because if you're really trying to get trans fats out of your diet, the more specific the number is, below 0.5, the better off you're going to be.
Now, trans fats can naturally occur in certain food products. What would your recommendation be in a perfect world?
Well, I think a perfect world starts with kind of clear information for the consumer. I mean, the consumer, can make it a choice if they have all the facts. And so we look at this trans fat issue, and with this campaign, we're basically going to pull away the 0 trans fat mask, so to speak, and basically show specifically what trans fat levels are in different products, so the consumer can make an appropriate choice. And make an informed choice. So I think that's probably the first thing. I think ultimately, if I really, looked out at kind of a perfect world, I mean, Denmark has done some pretty radical things. I mean, not radical by our standards, but not by from health standards, very positive. They're banning industrialized trans fats. It's tough to do, challenging to do. Will challenge industry, but they'll figure it out, and they'll take tons of trans fats out of their diet. Secondly, just more specific labeling in the margarine category. The margarine category is a very large source of trans fats in the diet, up to 17%, just by using sticks and spreads. So simple steps, but in a perfect world, I think, most informed decision, more informed labeling, so we don't create this artificially elevated zero trans fat threshold. Potentially eliminating, banning hydrogenated oils in this country, I think would be a fabulous result. I think it's one of those things that, again, industry would resist initially, and then ultimately would embrace, and the consumer is going to benefit, magnificently from a health perspective.
And you are recommending going to 0.2. Obviously, you can't go to zero because there is some naturally occurring trans fats.
Well, relative to spreads, we think you can get down to air level. Obviously, we're there. Mm-hmm. We have a significant national market share. We think if we can make people aware of the fact that just by making the simple change from their current product to Smart Balance, they can take a lot of unnecessary industrialized trans fats out of their diet. We think that's really a positive thing. On the other hand, we think that margarine. If you look at where trans fats come in your diet, margarine, the most recent data available, 17% of all trans fats in your diet come from just using sticks and spreads of margarine. Then you take the use of hydrogenated oils to make chips and crackers and cookies, and that's another 60%. So, oils like ours, products like ours are available to basically get you to a trace level trans fat, naturally occurring trans fat level. So we think that ultimately the consumer and industry will understand that, by taking this extra step, we can take probably the biggest single dietary change you could make that could reduce risk across the entire population of heart disease and a lot of other related diseases that trans fat's been associated with, just by making a simple change to healthy, natural blend of oils, of which we obviously have a vested interest. I mean, we have a great product, but that's a solution we think is going to be very compelling to consumers.
Now, other than this interview, how do you plan to get the word out about the importance of educating people that maybe they're getting more trans fats than they think they are?
Well, there's a pretty comprehensive program we're launching, with a TV commercial that actually, in the commercial, features a chart that shows exactly what trans fats we have and competitive products have. Again, if people can take that information and make potentially a more informed decision. Going to be a lot of print activity, print advertising with more detailed information, more data. Then the final phase is we're launching a website called thetruthabouttransfat.com. And this has not only a lot of data about Smart Balance and competitive products, but also has a link to experts, from Hopkins and Cleveland Clinic and the Mayo Clinic, American Heart Association, the ADA, American Dietetic Association, all these folks, and we had a conference with them to talk about the trans fat issue, are very energized because essentially what their statement is, there is no purpose in the diet for trans fats. And there is no doubt in anybody's mind that industrialized, chemically created trans fats that you get out of hydrogenated oil is a huge risk. In fact, one of the people we were talking to, they believe that, forget going to 0.2, forget about labeling specifically. If we just banned hydrogenated oils, we would take this risk out of the diet. And again, if we did something like that, certainly industry would adapt. They always do. And so I think that, again, part of this is getting, folks like yourself helping get the awareness up. So consumers can really say, well, why don't we do that?
How long do you think it would take to get there in this country?
Well, again, I think with, a new administration, there's a new day. I think, we're going to be looking for ways to change a lot of things in this country. And so, this is, again, this is a fairly simple issue that, again, if we attacked it and addressed it, because you think about this, think about all the damage that trans fats do to heart disease and related issues. And then you pass that cost down the stream to the pharmaceutical companies and the hospitals doing the angioplasties, the quadruple bypasses, all those things, again, that we can reduce the risk of by making kind of some simple choices. And again, I think that we have obviously a bit of a self-interest in this because we think Smart Balance really is a very unique brand that has a passion and a focus of eliminating trans fats in the diet. But at the same time, we think it's a great way, to maybe help focus people on the issue. It's wonderful because we have this company that's, really only 60 people. I mean, we really have a great business with a few people. And this little band of 60 people gets up every day, essentially looking for ways to take trans fats out of the diet. And every time somebody buys our product versus a competitor product, you feel, obviously you're doing good things for ourselves and our shareholders, but we're doing good things for that consumer.
Well, obviously the product is received extremely well, so you have to be very happy about that. And I just want to thank you for being here today. I've appreciated the interview and helped not only educate the folks on our website, but good luck in the efforts to educate the whole country about this.
That's great, Bob. Thank you much.